entering the vicinity of an area adjacent to a location, the kind of place where there might be something terrifying, something weird. They're just examples. It could also be something much better. Prepare to enter the Canuckle Zone.
And welcome, everybody. welcome to another episode, number 57 of Canuckleheads. How are y'all doing today? We have some things to talk about today. We have some heavier things to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Sophie Long situation. We're going to talk a little bit about some life coaching advice for y'all. We're going to talk a little bit. About what Michael Long was talking about on Ricada's show. This is something. So there's a thing that people really are glossing over, and one thing that people are attacking Michael over, which is his spiritual choice. And I want to talk a little bit about that because the way he was talking about it, I don't know for sure because I haven't talked to him. I mean, somebody might be able to ask him if this is the case, but it sounds a lot like he at least has some connection, or has at least gone to a specific faith church, and I will talk a bit about that. Hello, Ragnarok Knight. Hello, Ty Brunner. Hello, Randy Scribner Jr. Blaze Firestorm. How y'all doing? How are y'all doing? Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that today too. I'm going to get into a few heavier topics. And y'all know, like, this is Canuckleheads, right? Y'all know. This is me. I'm going to try to do this in the most respectful edutainment manner. So I'm not going to be all doom and gloom. And yes, merch. We're starting off with merch because this is the only time I'm going to be able to fit it in here appropriately. We have a brand new mug. Hello, Andrea. Quick beat from the con. Hope you are doing well. Things are doing great at Big Lick Comic Con. Johnny Young Bosch is doing better. Very good to hear. Hope you're all having a good night. Good stuff. Good to hear. But we do have a brand new piece of merch debuting today. Well, it's been debuted for a little bit. It is the official Canuckleheads 2.0 mug. You can get your very own two-tone Canuckleheads mug if you want. Beautiful Canuckleheads logo on the front there. You can choose between all these beautiful, wonderful, lovely colors. My personal favorite is red, but you can get the red, you can get the pink, you can get yellow, you can get blue, you can get orange, or you can just get classic black. 15% off today, everything on the site. Because there is a promotion going on, Zazzle, thanks. 15% off pretty much everything on the website right now. Hello, Tom. Hello, Wesley. How you doing? I have something to show off. Oh my god. I can stretch my fucking arm across there. We have two things to show off, actually. Doesn't include coffee or rum. No, you have to supply that yourself. Hello, Ellie. How you doing? I got two things to show off because I got in the mail. We got our flask. We got our drinking flask. The Canuckleheads drinking flask. You can hear it's nice and metal. It's got the vinyl sticker on the outside. It's really, really tough. Really, really tough sticker. Nice and metal. And you put all of your beautiful drinking in there. See, it wraps around. It is really, really nice. And also, we got a brand new item in. The Canuckleheads shot glass. Fun fact, I don't have a shot glass at home, so now we actually have a shot glass and we have the official Canucklehead shot glass. There you go. There you go. New items came in today. Very high quality. I've never gotten anything low quality off of Zazzle yet. So I'm very, very pleased with all of that. So yeah, if you want to buy anything on the store right now, I'm gonna drop a link to the mug. But you can get there from the mug you can visit the Zazzle store, the Canuckleheads official store, and you can pick up anything there. 15% off today. I don't know. They might have better. They might have better deals on some things too. I haven't taken a look, but there you go. There's the shilling for the day. Now we're gonna get into what I'm drinking today. We're digging into the Blue Lobster vodka soda, which is so good. This one's the sour cherry lime. I really like this flavor. What a bag of Canuckleheads coffee would go for. That'd be interesting. If I ever got like a coffee sponsor, that would be really nice. Could charge for K-Cups. Yeah, I could make like a Canuckleheads brand of coffee or whatever, a blend of coffee. That'd be pretty cool. All right. Maple syrup flavored. Oh, that would be pretty nice, actually. Okay. I don't really have any backdrop for this. That would be appropriate. Actually, maybe I could just pull up the title card for today. Because I think the title card is everything that we need to say about what this show is going to be about today. Let me pull up today's title card, shall we? Let me do this real quick. Because I don't really have any anything that I want to show on stream about this. There we go. There we go. Canucka Chugs, the drink of drinks. That'd be nice. Something like maple syrup flavored, like little hint of maple or something. So we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's been going on. Because, truth be told, this sounds like something out of a fucking horror movie that is going on, in terms of the Sophie Long case and the situation going on with that. Now, I've been looking at the entire thing with a skeptical eye. I've been looking, well, not a skeptical eye, because skeptics, you can never give them enough proof. So that's the wrong term. A critical eye. I've been looking at everything critically. I've been looking at Michael's statements critically. I've been looking at Sophie's statements critically, which I know a lot of people might be like, well, what do you mean? When you're in these types of situations, very much like the whole situation with Chris Chan, you cannot take anything at face value. You have to look and weigh and stress test the statements being made. Now, it's really an uncomfortable thing to do, because we're talking, the subject matter that we're talking about right now, in terms of Sophie and her siblings, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough to look at that and be critical of the statements that are being made. Hello, Platinum Lemur. You just added to my backlog of streams I have to watch. I'm thinking about 30 to 40 hours of stream. Oh, goodness. Well, I am glad that I've added to your addiction. Thank you. Yes, Michael Long did get charged with contempt of court, because the judge, and I think the entirety of Collin County needs to get Minecrafted, because I think the entirety of that area is more corrupt than things I can't say on YouTube without getting yeeted. It's one of those things, like you watch a movie, right? Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You watch that movie and you say to yourself, there's no fucking way. There's no way that something like that could happen. There's no way that something like that could be allowed to exist. You look at the movie It, Derby. There's no way that a town like Derby could exist. That just like openly just, murders people for XYZ reason or whatever, and the town is just completely oblivious to it, and they're totally okay with it. There's no way that can exist. And then you see this. And then you see the stuff that's going on right now in Collin County, Texas, where you have sheriffs and police and lawyers and judges literally ignoring the law. For what? Really? For what exactly? And I mean, there's no clear cut as to what the hell can be done about this either. I mean, do you contact the FBI? I mean, federal can't really do anything about jurisdiction in particular states, right? I mean, like, I don't know how this gets remedied. Because you're talking about the system being abused so badly by everybody in authority. It seems like a Hollywood film. I don't know what better way to describe it. It seems like a Hollywood film. Now, again, I've spent a lot of time being critical on all sides of this. I mean, anytime that someone has to hire a PR firm, like a specific individual in this case, anytime that someone has to hire a PR firm to control the narrative, that's a big fucking question mark for me. That's a big fucking question mark for me. Judges have a God complex nowadays. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, the admission. So, like, I'll get to all that shit in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. When I was looking at all of this stuff, I was critical of everything, right down to the statements that Sophie had allegedly made. Until the audio came out, and until the official forensic nurse notes were revealed, there was pretty much no evidence of anything other than just, this person said this. This person said that person said this. So I'm always strongly questioning that type of stuff. But now there's really no question left out there, is there? There's really no question that's left out there about this right now. There was a lot said on Nick Rekieta's show recently, podcast or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot said on his show recently, from Michael Long. And not only, it wasn't just said, it was backed up with receipts. He provided audio recordings. And whether they were obtained legally or not, I don't care. When you're talking about a system that he's been going through that has not been observing the law the entire time, I don't care if he obtained them legally or otherwise. When the law is failing you and you've been doing everything by the book, and it's been ignoring itself, then sometimes you need to take measures. I'm not condoning vigilantism. I'm not condoning this stuff, but this is the shit that is in fucking movies. This is the stuff we see Denzel Washington doing it all the time on the silver screen. See it in Die Hard. See it in Mission Impossible, right? This is that type of shit. Sometimes it's ironic because this is the situation that rap artist victims talk about all the time, right? They say, "Oh, I'm not going to go to the police because they won't do anything. The system is broken. The system ignores it. The system and blah, 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 blah," right? This is the stuff that most of the blue check marks on social media talk about the failings of the system, about how things blah, 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 blah. So where is everyone and the outrage about this right now? where there's, instead of just having like made up numbers that people pick out, people pick out a fucking midair to point to when they're trying to make a point on social media about rap artists. Where are the people? Where is the outrage right now when you literally have physical proof, physical evidence showing that the system is not only broken down but corrupt in this particular situation? Where is the outrage? Why aren't people talking about it? We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Because the situation here is pretty dark from everything that I've seen. Witnessing Michael, and Michael's not an actor. Michael's not a voice actor. He's not a Hollywood actor. He's just a dude. Right? He's just a guy. The dude can barely deliver the truth convincingly. Never mind lying. Like he's on such an edge of being flustered. He can barely get the truth out in a convincing manner. So please tell me how he can fucking lie through his teeth. But I don't take his word for it, first of all. I don't take his word for it. I don't take anyone's word for whatever they say. I usually rely on facts and evidence. So, looking at everything, when you have a forensic nurse taking down answers from a little girl that there's no way in hell she would have been coached to say. Because if anyone has been around children at fucking all, you know that they don't listen to a fucking word that people tell them to. Especially around that age. If she was 5, maybe more impressionable, okay. But she's like getting into the age where she's going to be a little bit rebellious. So I don't think for a minute that she's putting on a show. I don't think for a minute that she's been coached or coerced to say any of these things. Because it doesn't, to me, listening to Michael speak, it doesn't sound like that is his vocabulary of how to talk, right? Nope, not a real place. Got to strike it. That's what ticked you off about the nurse thing. Exactly. Like, just listening to Michael talk, it doesn't sound... Now, he might be the biggest fucking mastermind on the face of the planet if this is the case. But it doesn't sound like the verbiage that he uses. It doesn't sound like the things that he says. I've met people like Michael. I'll say that. I've met people like Michael through faith-based things that he talks about, right? Which I'll get to that in a little bit too. I'm going to wait till a bit more people come in so we can actually talk about that. Now, I don't know Michael. I'm not affiliated with him. I have never spoken to him. But I've met people like him. And they're very wholesome, very borderline naive types of individuals, right? They want to believe that the world is a great place. They want to impose that kindness to the world, which clearly it doesn't deserve. I might get a little bit preachy during this broadcast too. So bear with me. We're going to talk about religion too. But this entire situation, it really seems surreal that you have a person of authority who is supposed to be looking out for the best interest of Sophie, that is not the parent, person that has been appointed to be looking out for the best interest of the child, will literally stand there smiling. This is the part that disturbs me the most, actually. This is the part that disturbs me the most. Going back and watching the videos that Michael shared, you have two individuals, one of which is the mother. The other is a person that's appointed to oversee the safety of the child. Both of them smiling while the child that they're supposed to be overseeing the safety of and care of and making sure that this little person in the world is growing up to be a normal, healthy individual. They're smiling as she is screaming for help, as her mother has her in a chokehold, clearly injuring her, clearly putting her in distress, screaming at the top of her lungs. And that's not just a performance scream. If you've dealt with children at any level, you can generally tell the difference between when they're faking a cry, or they're cranky, or they're tired, and when it's genuine terror. And that was genuine terror we saw in that video. And they had smiles on their faces while they were doing it. So, looking at all of this stuff, literally telling a sub-13-year-old that their parent is going to go to jail if they don't comply. If they don't comply. And with they're genuinely terrified of whatever it is they're being asked to comply to do. And now they're being threatened to having their only safety removed from them by the people who are defined as supposed to be looking out for her. It's really wrenching to think about. And you have so many people that are happily taking money to make this happen, by the way. It's surreal, and it's a world that we live in right now. I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it. Because it's so beyond the stretch of what we understand being in a first world free society. This is stuff that, you look at and it happens in fucking rural Europe, right? It happens in China. It happens in the middle of fucking nowhere. That, in the places that apparently God just forgot about. It doesn't happen in the middle of fucking United States of America. Or so we thought. But apparently it does. Apparently it does. So, for the people out there that were fighting so hard to keep Sophie's recorded statements from a forensic nurse, someone who is specially trained to determine if children are making things up or being coached or what have you. If you're willing to try and hide that evidence for the sake of whatever, you want to deliver the child into the hands of her abuser. And you want to keep the two other children that are in the hands of the abuser there as well, and expose them to further abuse. There is not even a word to describe what punishment is befitting of you. This is a sin that goes further than what can be rectified in one lifetime. This is something that's going to carry throughout. This is going to stain you for the rest of time. And I hope you're okay with that. Because this is not just something that you're going to be dealing with. This is going to be something that bleeds onto everyone that you come in contact with. We're talking about Hollywood movies. Because we're apparently living in one. Just think of a Ju-on. Just think of something that is so atrociously bad that it stains everything around it. And you can't wash that out. You can't get rid of it. It's there. It exists. And you have to deal with it. And you can't get away from it. There's no happy ending here. And I know there's a lot of people out here that really, really, really want to help Sophie, and unfortunately, the damage is done. If you saw that video, if you saw the fear in her face, you hear the absolute terror in her voice. This is more than just something that can be washed away with a couple therapy sessions. Yeah, I did say Ju-on. Miguel. This is something that is going to stain everybody. It is going to stain that county for a very, very, very long time. And everybody involved are going to be paying for it for lifetimes. Not just one lifetime. We're talking about something that is beyond our comprehension. Exactly, Oni Lord Miki. It is beyond our ability to comprehend. Because we're only able to punish for one lifetime. So, what I want to talk a little bit about is growing up in a messy divorce. Exactly. Think about all the other ones that aren't public. Think about all the other ones that will never become public. This whole thing it will not go away. It is absolutely a curse. It's not even just a movie based on some Japanese ghost folklore. It's a real-life curse that impacts communities. That is what this is. This is a Ju-on. This is something that is not going away. It is only going to get worse. It is absolutely only going to get worse. It is something... This is beyond... These people don't even understand. They don't even understand what they've gotten themselves into. So I want to talk a little bit about growing up through a messy divorce. Now, folks, I talk to you guys about everything about myself. Everything. And I've gone through a lot of shit in my life, right? Now, thankfully, I came out relatively sane. I say relatively because sane is relative. But I'm not out here, pulling a Chris Chan. I'm not out here being a rap artist. I'm out here trying to share some life advice with everybody. And I don't really, I don't usually like to get into these deep conversations on podcasts, but I think this is kind of important to talk about. Kind of important because I do a lot of like life coaching. Because there's, like I said on the show preview, like there's no guidebook, there's no strategy guide, there's no anything, there's no user's manual for life, right? But there's a lot of fucking people who have experienced a lot of what life has to offer. Yeah, Chris Chan was gross. It's an unfortunate situation that just kind of built onto itself, but there's a lot of people out there that have experienced a lot of life, a lot of what life has to offer, and I think I'm one of those people. I've experienced the butt end of a lot of shit during my childhood, which has set me up for a lot of success in the future. So, again, this is not something that I'm traumatized by. I mean, I could very well have been, but as I grew up, I understood and decided to take that as a learning path instead of deciding to use that as a crutch. So my parents got divorced when I was fairly young. Now, I was around Sophie's age when they should have been divorced, but they decided to stick together for the sake of the kids. In my opinion, if you're at a point where you despise each other, there are better ways to handle that than to stick around and show hate to your children. Sometimes it is better to show them that you can split off and live separately. You can split up and live separately and still show your children love and show your children that a family can exist outside of a single household, rather than force yourself to stay together and harbor constant daily resentment that bleeds over into your children. So, never use the excuse that you're staying together for the kids, because number one, you're not. It's a selfish reason. You have no fucking balls to break up and take on the responsibilities of what that entails. Number one. Number two, now you're pushing the blame onto the children. You're shifting the blame. Well, I have to live in resentment and hatred because of you. Now, that's not what they meant, obviously, but that's the way it comes off as. Because the kids don't understand. When I talk about mental faculty, right? Especially in children, because people get really upset when I talk about that. It's like, well, what do you mean? The kid doesn't know what they're talking about. They're blah, 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 blah. No, okay. Understand. There are degrees of mental faculty, right? Like, when you are a toddler, like when you were 2 or 3 years old, your ability to reason is not quite developed yet. You don't quite understand that, the world doesn't fucking revolve around you. And when you're hungry, you don't immediately just pop shit into existence and boom, there you go, you get exactly what you want. You can't explain that to a 2-year-old, right? As you grow and develop and get older, that starts to develop. But however, we're talking about 9, 10, 12, 13-year-olds. They don't have the mental faculty yet to grasp more adult situations. And as we grow up, we're always taught to be very black and white. Things are very black and white, right? We have good and we have evil. We have princes, we have princesses, We have evil queens. We have wolves that dress up like grandma, right? We're taught very A-B. And as we grow older, we start to understand that there are more levels to things. There's depth. There's not just, black and white. Oh yeah, children definitely take the burden of guilt from the adults around them. So kids don't have the ability, children don't have the ability to filter out that mommy and daddy are staying together. Hello, Gav, how you doing? Mommy and daddy are staying together because they want us to feel normal. They don't get that. They just see that, mommy and daddy are staying together and they are arguing and they're mad and they're screaming at each other all the time and they're mean to us. And then when we hear them say, "Oh, we're staying together because of the kids," now we feel like it's our fault that they're in that situation. Feel like it's our fault that we're the ones making them, because if we weren't here, then they wouldn't be together, they wouldn't be angry. And adults generally seem to think that their kids are smarter than they are, and not necessarily smarter. Let me rephrase that. It's not necessarily about being intelligent or being stupid. We're talking about the development of the mental facilities. Think about when you were 13 years old, okay? Think about way back when Methuselah was walking the earth. When you were 13 years old. Then think about when you were 17 years old. Think about how different a person you were from 13 to 17. Now think about how different a person you were from 17 to 19. Hello, JCF Data. Sorry guys, I didn't make the VIP lounge today. It's a heavy topic, so I forgot I was doing something else. Think about how different you were from 17 to 19. Think about how different you were from 19 to 20. Think about how different you were from 20 to 24. These are all things. Oh, I agree, James Andrew Morrison. That's what I'm saying. Kids don't have the mental facility to understand that the parents are making their own decisions based on themselves. They just see cause effect. They just see A-B. They don't understand that there are more gray areas that contribute to this stuff. And you learn as you grow older. You learn as you go through your own relationships, as you make your own decisions. You're like, oh, you know what? Maybe my parents did that because of X, Y, Z. Oh, okay. Now I understand a bit better. They're not perfect beings. They're just humans. They're just people. Thanks for understanding, Ragnarok Knight. So when you look at all this stuff, and I'm saying this from experience. Okay? Exactly. We are technically different people every 7 years. We are all Time Lords. True. Catch 22 with parental divorce. Damned if you don't, damned if you don't. It is better to split and cut the resentment out. And this is where it gets messy. Right? Because if it's a clean split and both parents are adults about it, which they should be, by the way, the parents should be adults about it and not fucking toddlers. Both literally and figuratively, by the way. But the problem is that most people aren't adults about it. Sometimes, much like Michael said in his interview with Nick, you got married for a reason. You obviously had feelings, and that person was a beautiful person at the time. You created life together. There was obviously a connection. There was obviously something there. But people change over time. So one thing I will criticize Michael on, that I think he has done incorrectly in this situation. Now, I don't know Sophie. I don't know Michael. I don't know where either of them are in their walk of life. What I will say, though, what I think Michael did wrong is I think that Michael has been... I mean, in theory, it's the right thing to do, right? In theory, him telling Sophie that the mother is great, you know, her mother's smart and beautiful, and she's all the most amazing things about her mom. Now, I'm not privy to any conversation he's had with Sophie outside of what he chose to share with Nick Rekieta. I do think that he has made a mistake by telling her just to focus on the good parts of her mom. Because, let me tell you, that is probably one of the most infuriating things. Especially if, as a child, you're dealing with issues. And fly. If you're dealing with emotional issues, if you're dealing with these conflicted feelings, the last thing that you need to hear from either side, positive or negative, is, "Oh, don't feel that way. You know, they're just being this, they're just being that. They're actually really a nice person. You should really just give them a chance." You know nothing about the Sophie Long case except how it hurt poor Ken Jennings. Okay, there's a lot of stuff, Gav. When I say it's the Texas Child Law Massacre, I'm not kidding. It is literally Collin County operating like its own dictatorship with a bunch of corrupted fucking psychopaths that work around it, right down to the police department, right down to the judges, right down to the lawyers that all work together to alienate and violate children's rights. This is strictly, now I'm making this claim strictly based on audio, print. I'm not making it on anything outside of actual fact. We have a lawyer that was appointed to Michael, by the way. Michael's lawyer telling him on audio recording that all of the lawyers and the judges are all friends and they all hang out together and they're all working together. And that it's in Michael's best interest to take the deal, to listen to the judge and go with what the opponent wants to say. To take the offer because they're all friends. It is ridiculous. It is abhorrent. You think the town of Derry in the fictional world of Stephen King, you think the town of Derry was bad? Collin County literally has a circle of fucking judges, officials, lawyers, police officers, sheriffs that all work together to squeeze money out of people. And they don't fucking care if children get abused over it. They don't care about the children. This is the same court. This is the same court that forced a minor to submit to transition because their mother wanted them to transition and their father said no, and the child didn't want to. Same court. This is sad in so many ways. It's unbelievable that this exists. Slander is spreading a mistruth that Crumb is saying here is backed by reams of facts. Exactly. There is unbelievable amounts of facts. Facts, not allegations. Facts. Recordings. Reports from a forensic nurse. Police reports. Records. There's records of a fucking police officer. There's records of a police officer directing others to not file reports for Michael Long. This is literally out of a fucking Hollywood movie script. We have blue check marks on the internet right now pointing to imaginary percentages about how many people get wronged by police when they report rap artists. With zero backup, with zero information, with zero anything that they can point to. And here we have Michael, who literally has enough information to put these people away for fucking lifetimes. And nobody is listening to him. Nobody is listening to him. You have Sophie on recording, on audio recording, after Michael was forced to leave the area under threat of imprisonment. He was threatened with jail time if he didn't leave. And so he left. You have Sophie on recording in the custody of two abusive cunts. Sophie crying out, saying, doesn't anybody care about me? Doesn't anybody care about what happens to me? She's not performing for her dad. You have her mother on video smiling as she's choking her own daughter. You have the amicus attorney smiling as she's watching this happen on video. Why is this not on CNN? Why is this not front row center for everyone to fucking take a look at? If you put this into a fucking book or movie, no one would believe it. Nobody would believe it. And you have a history of abuse in that family. On the mother's side. The father was sexually assaulted. The mother was sexually assaulted. The mother allegedly, tearfully admitted that she forced Sophie's mom and Sophie's mom's brother to have intercourse when they were little. So Sophie's mom was molested. And now you have from the mouth of Sophie herself telling a forensic nurse in an interview that her mom's boyfriend is touching her inappropriately. In her own words, this is me paraphrasing. That her mom's boyfriend is quote unquote punching her in the VV while her mother watches. Her mother's there. How they're telling her, don't tell anybody because we know police, we know the judges, we know everybody, and no one will believe you. This is shit you hear in a Hollywood movie. This is shit you hear in a Hollywood movie, and here it is, front row and center. So back to the point that I was making. We got off on a tangent. Kids don't have the mental faculty to really comprehend the messiness that goes into it, right? Because they haven't had relationships. They just think that each other have cooties. They're children. They haven't had the complexity of falling in love and getting their hearts broken. I mean, they might have lost their favorite blanket, and that would be heartbreaking. That would be heart-wrenching, but that's different, right? It's different than having someone, like, consciously do shit to hurt you. That's different. So I grew up in a broken marriage. Now, my parents should have divorced long before they actually got divorced. I also, well, here's the thing, James Andrew Morrison. I believe that Michael's a bit naive when it comes to law. I mean, justifiably so. He's a layman, so he wouldn't really know. But there's a lot of huff and puff coming from the other side that has no legal weight whatsoever. And I think if he knew a little bit more about law, he could navigate it pretty easily. There's no actionable, well, there was no actionable motions against him in terms of gag order. You can't gag someone's free speech. You cannot direct someone that they're not allowed to report a crime. Literally, the judge put an order and signed an order saying that he was not allowed to tell anybody or report that, that Sophie's mom sexually assaulted anybody. That's not legally actionable. I know that, and I'm a Canadian. I got a girl an octopus plushie in kindergarten. Get on my level. I bet she remembers that to this day. You can't treat children like adults because they aren't mentally equated to adults yet. I do think that Michael has harmed himself by kind of going along with everything because, it would be the right thing to do normally if you aren't dealing with predatory people. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's when you believe it's his naivety of the law that has led him down this path, unfortunately. And it sucks because he's been poisoned. He's been not allowed to. He's been not allowed to fucking have counsel. The fact that these people have been going around to every single lawyer in the area to make sure that he's not able to retain counsel and that he has to remain legally ignorant is an atrocity. Her mom hated black people. Rip. She took it home, though. There you go. It's unfortunate, though, because we're dealing with... It is pretty vile. We're dealing with a situation where Michael has a lot of naivety in terms of what the law states and whatever else is. I mean, hopefully he's been able to have some people who are more versed in the law, specifically Texas law, help him out and give him a bit more direction and open his eyes a little bit more. 'Cause I'm Canadian and I know half of this shit. It's just because I have a passion for law, because I've done a lot of research, a lot of looking into it. I'm not a lawyer. Maybe I'll be a lawyer one day. But I'm not a lawyer right now. But even I know half of this stuff. I know legally actionable from bullshit. They're blocking his right to an attorney, let alone legal counsel. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if that would be lawful or not, to be honest. I don't know if that's lawful or not. Because everyone has a right to an attorney. I mean, criminal, anyway. Hello, Jack. Oh, here's hoping the judge and opposing counsel get sanctioned to help him back in hell. They deserve to be disbarred. Honestly, they deserve to be removed and never allowed back in. Is there a bar exam requirement equivalent in Canada? Yes, there is. God, my fucking nose is so itchy. Like, it's so fucking bad with my allergies right now. Yes, there is a bar exam in Canada. There is a bar in Canada, etc., etc. I eventually, just as an aside, I do eventually plan on going to law school. When I get to a specific milestone at my current job, I plan on looking into my options in dropping down to part-time and going to law school, so I can pursue that. Might be going for law clerk, might be going for paralegal. We'll see, but something in that effect, because I do want that. It's a passion of mine. I really enjoy it. They absolutely deserve to be disbarred. Absolutely, 100%. Getting the sanctions is likely an uphill battle. I think they deserve to be jailed. We talk about child trafficking in the news all the time, etc., etc. I think these people need to be charged and sent to the fucking smallest, darkest, cramped, cold, wet fucking cell and that we have, and stay there until they fucking rot. Because these people are the fucking most despicable, disgusting examples of human on the fucking earth. But you make a very good point, JCF Data. You make a very good point, which is what I'm going to talk a little bit about. People are hammering Michael's faith. Needs to be a better way to make bad judges and lawyers completely accountable for bad actions. I completely agree. But you can see that the court system is more and more and more wanting to be private, right? Because they want to just make decisions without being questioned. They want to make decisions without being questioned about them, and that's a problem. That we should be immediately questioning and immediately be pushing back on. In terms of Michael's religion, right? In terms of Michael's view on life, I want to show you guys something. Some of you folks have seen and heard what he had to say about his view about, spiritual living, etc., etc., right? For those of you who don't know, Michael doesn't have a set religion that he follows. He likes to take bits and pieces of a bunch of different religions, and he likes to, kind of feel out where he goes. He said that he likes to support whatever brings people to their higher power. He doesn't like to stick to one particular thing. He doesn't like to pigeonhole himself into one particular thing. He likes to support whatever gets people to their higher power. So I want to show one particular group here that I actually have been involved with. You heard a little bit about it, but it didn't seem relevant, so you kind of tuned it out. It is relevant, actually. It's very relevant. So they've been hammering at his religious beliefs and his spiritual beliefs as a point of contention of his sanity, okay? I want to counter that by saying I think he is perfectly sane because of stuff that he's done, like Reiki and stuff like that, right? Reiki healing. The people in the organization I'm just about to show you are fantastic individuals. The verbiage that Michael has used when he talks about stuff like the ego and things like that, this is all stuff that comes straight out of this organization, and they're not they're not quacks. This is an actual church. It's an actual organization. This organization teaches all religions, all aspects of religion. It teaches Christianity, teaches Buddhism, teaches Catholicism, teaches Hinduism, teaches Islam, teaches everything. Everything. Because it's not about what God you pray to or what God you believe in. It's that you get to that point. It's that you find what works for you and you follow that path that is meant for you. Let me pull them up here. A lot of people might not know what these are or who these are. So I want to show you. Let me get rid of that image real quick. Here we go. Unity. Now, Unity, let me just extend this out a little bit more. Unity is an organization. It's a church. It is technically a religion. It's also full of very, very kind and beautiful, nice people. Correct religion is Islam. I have a chapter of Unity in my city. I have a chapter of this church in my city. I have met people that go to this church. They're wonderful, beautiful people. They're perfectly sane. They're incredible individuals. We're going to look at their mission and their vision. I told you we were going to talk about religion. Our vision, advancing the global movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity. Unity means all religions unified together. All religions coming together. To help serve through prayer, publishing, and community. Inclusiveness, we're inclusive, equitable culture of oneness. We inspire and awaken people to the divine within. We seek continuous improvement in all that we do. We create meaningful products and services that have extraordinary impact. We're a community of collaboration, growth, and accountability. We serve. Yeah, they're normal. So they provide inspiration and tools for spiritual transformation through our print and digital publications, through the Silent Unity Prayer Ministry, available 24/7 by text, phone, or online. They're based out of Missouri. I think the first one was based in, it was Kansas City, Missouri. Grew out of transcendentalism in the mid-1800s, became part of a spiritual movement called New Thought. Believe every person is an expression of God and our thoughts have creative power. Offer inspiration and support to millions of people who consider themselves to be spiritual but not religious. So does this sound like a wackadoo? I mean, I don't think it does. It's self-actualization, yes. It is living through spiritual positivity and realizing that we're all, and again, I'm not an attendant of this church or whatever else. I know these people. I respect them. But this is about, like, what they're all about is understanding that they are expressions of God, that they are all individually living as such, that the ego, etc., is something that we create, we hold on to. I really wish I had that interview, because I'd interviewed the pastor of my local chapter for when I went to our chapter here locally in Kitchener to do a paranormal investigation of it, because we had some really interesting happenings there. And I interviewed the pastor that was there, and she had a very, very good explanation. I'm going to butcher this, but basically I asked her like what she believes is the afterlife. Like, what happens after you pass on? And she had a very good explanation. I'm going to attempt this, but I'm going to butcher it horribly. Is that she said, when we pass on, when I pass on, the ego that I'm holding on to, because her name was Sharon. She's like, the ego known as Sharon that I hold on to is going to disperse. It's going to just disperse into the universe. And it's going to go back into the soup that is the universe, right? And blah 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 blah. It's to that effect. She said it much more eloquent than I'm putting it, but much more longer. But she used the term ego because each individual person, we take on an ego to separate ourselves from the other egos, etc., etc. Which is what I found interesting when Michael was talking, because he used the exact same term, ego. When he's talking, someone asked about DMT, and he was saying how he hasn't done it himself, but he's heard about how people have taken DMT and have had their ego lifted to the point where they have life-changing experiences. Sounds a bit like the river. Yeah, the life stream in Final Fantasy VII, exactly. How life disperses and it returns to the life stream, and that pieces in the essence of the life that was get reused in other beings. Circle of life. Everything like that, right? It's very much similar to my own beliefs in terms of paganism about returning to nature, right? When we die, we return to nature. And our nature sustains, like our bodies and our souls and everything else, it sustains nature around us, and we get dispersed out through other means. So essence of who we are is always going to be within the earth, within the nature itself. So when we're looking at all of this stuff, and we're looking at the wholesomeness of unity. Now, again, hello Milo, how you doing? Again, I don't know if Michael knows about unity. What I will do is I'll show you that this is not just a small thing. This is not just a small thing. I have to find out where their little search thing is. Unity near you. There we go. I'm going to show you just how many there are in Texas. This is not a small organization. Look at how many there are in Texas. There's one in Flower Mound. Lord knows they fucking need it. Funimation. One in Tyler. 2 in Tyler. San Antonio. Georgetown. Corpus Christi. 2 in Corpus Christi. This is a big organization. And to say that Michael is just a psychopath is to spit on literally all of these other Texans that go to these churches, that go to these unities. Odessa, Denton, Grapevine, Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin. There's 3 in Austin. Arlington. So what Michael's views on religion are very normal. As you can see, the fucking faith that he follows is peppered throughout fucking Texas. Which you would think is like the Christian capital of the fucking universe. Here we have like fucking more than a dozen, more than 24 Unity churches, which largely is what Michael, and again, I don't know because I haven't spoken to Michael, but this sounds like what Michael follows to a fucking T. He talks about all the time the positive path of spiritual living. He talks about all the time like about that stuff, like the spiritual direction, working together, being positive. You might have been one of them before. They have all kinds of things here. Yeah. And the PR people were claiming that Michael Long would teach his daughter magic if she lied about her mother. I have been to a Unity church. Locally here. The Lake Travis one, nice. They're wonderful people. I have been to a Unity church. They teach Reiki, which is one thing Michael was talking about. They teach Reiki. They teach tarot and all that other stuff. Like they do all of these things, which for a lot of these weirdos out there, it's like, oh, that's black magic. That's weird. Putting chemicals in the water. It is an absolute gross misrepresentation of his belief. What I will say, for anyone out there that's curious, again, I don't go to it personally. I just know people that are there, and I know the good people that are there. Go to unity.org. Go to unity.org and look through it yourself. Go take a look at it. Go take a peek through it. You can take a look at all of the shit that they're talking about. You can decide for yourself if they're bullshit. But you can see it. And you can understand this is a lot of what Michael was talking about in terms of his spirituality and religion. And the way that he looks at things. Again, I don't know if he's ever been to a Unity. They don't really technically consider themselves a religion. So I can see why he doesn't consider himself religious. All of the things point to him having some sort of connection to this. And they're not terrible people. They're really, really nice people. So I would say go check that out. Because they're pretty cool. In terms of... In juxtaposition to the people that are apparently God-fearing Christians, right? It makes it look like it's a game engine used by Ubisoft, seriously. Apparently the God-fearing Christians, who have apparently zero fear of God, because if they did operate in a world that God existed, because if nothing else, what this has told me is that we are in a godless fucking reality right now. Unfortunately. That we are in a godless reality at this moment, because if God did have influence on our day-to-day right now, which, God doesn't. God doesn't interfere. And again, I'm not religious. I just read up a lot about these different things. God provided. This is according to their own writings and scriptures. God gave us all free will. to make our own decisions. God doesn't interfere in our decisions. But we reap what we sow. At the end of everything, we have to come to terms with everything that we've done. Every decision that we have made without the guidance of God. We have what we believe is the direction in life. We have things thrust upon us. We have uncertainty. Old Testament, God will punish you for fucking anything. New Testament, God loves you regardless. I don't know, man. He saved your ass in more ways than the one like a decade back. He would certainly have been dead if he didn't interfere. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to black pill people a little bit right here. Reality as we know it is chaos. It's unpredictable. It's unknowable, right? Because it's everything and nothing at the same time. So it's unknowable what reality we will exist in. For an omnipotent being to exist, they need to exist in a reality where everything is determined, where they can possibly know every single outcome. The only thing that is permanent in our reality is death, non-existence. So in our reality, and this is just, take it for what you will. Again, blackpilling. In our reality, we live in chaos. There is no permanence. So therefore, the only way that God could exist as an omnipotent being would be to exist in permanence, would be to exist in death. Now, it's not to say that death is the end. Think of it like a program, right? Think of it as a programmer. Say I am a programmer, I'm an architect, what have you. I cannot physically myself exist within the program to observe it, right? I cannot, as a programmer, Tron myself into the computer so I can observe the program operating. However, I can input subroutines to observe the program for me and then report back to me. Give that some thought. Because Schrodinger's God. The only way that it could realistically, theoretically exist is if God was on the outside looking in. Because God being on the outside, quote unquote, in death, existing in the realm of death and permanence, that would be the only way for God to observe everything and be omnipotent. And we are the subroutines that are being inserted into the program to observe and report. Simulation. I mean, it's pretty close. God's a gamer who moved on to a new game. Warning, incoming game. Warning, incoming game. You label yourself as agnostic for the sheer fact that neither an atheist nor a person of religion can prove there is a God. Exactly. Or there isn't a God. Exactly. Well, it's like I don't remember what proverb this was or what story this was or what have you. Like there's a story out there about some little person asking their grandfather or whatever, like, what happens to atheists? Why do atheists exist? If God exists, then why did God create someone who doesn't believe in him? It's actually Madoka Konami. And the It's a bionicle, exactly. So the wise old grandfather says to the child, as a God-fearing Christian, you live your day and you do things based on what you believe God is going to judge you on, right? If you go and it's like, and because the child asks, well, why is this atheist helping homeless people? Why is this atheist doing all of these other things? They don't have to answer to God because they don't believe in God. And they say, well, you as a God-fearing Christian, you do all of these things because you are expecting that God's watching you. You expect that you're going to be judged on your actions. So you act in a certain way. You act, in a degree higher than what you a standard higher than you normally would. This person is acting out of the kindness of their own heart. And that's why God created atheists, was to show us, the people who do fear him, that these are actions that you choose to take. That you shouldn't choose to take these actions because you fear me, but you choose to take these actions because your heart tells you to. So, I mean, take it for what you will. These are my experiences through life, and this is what I've gone through. This is what I've gone through in my own personal experience. I'm not religious. I don't necessarily believe in the Christian definition of God, or what have you. I come to my own determinations, much like Michael did, much like Michael has. And I'm very much open to conversations with people who are devout, very much open to conversations with people who are atheistic. Oh no, I'm sorry, Tom. That sucks. Hope you're feeling better soon, buddy. So when I look at the stuff that Michael's being quote-unquote accused of, and all this other nonsense, let me say that right. Catch the rest in the replay? Absolutely, Tom. Take care. The absolute nonsense that's coming out of people talking about Michael in a negative light because of how he believes specific things. Let me just put it this way. Michael is doing the actions that he's taking without having a knife on his neck. Said that he has to do these things or else. Look at the people that are holding the knife to his neck. The quote-unquote God-fearing individuals that are literally holding the law like a knife to him and his daughter's neck and his kid's neck. Saying that if you don't do this, we'll end you. Just give up the child. Just give up your rights to the child. It's a sickness. It's a sickness. Now, I made a decision a long ass time ago. Even before I decided to be, even before I decided to go through transitioning and acknowledge myself as trans, I made a decision a very long time ago to not have children. Because there is a cycle of abuse. I was not molested, so don't worry about that, but it's a cycle of abuse. My grandfather was molested. I don't think that there's any indication that he molested any of his kids, but he was abused. And he was very strict and borderline abusive to his children. My grandfather on my father's side was also abusive towards his children. That was, normal for the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Because they were abused. My parents were abusive to us, both mentally and physically. And I made the decision to not have children, because I didn't want to continue that cycle of abuse. Because there's a lot of things like obviously in my life that I'm not proud of. Like having having an anger streak. That's something I've gotten under control largely. Video games still piss me off though. I have infinite patience for people. I have a very high tolerance for people, which thank God, because I work in customer service. But on the flip side, I have zero patience for machines. So anything electronics, anything machinery, I have no patience for. But that's kind of channeled, like Smite, exactly. That's channeled the cycle of anger and abuse. I've channeled that towards inanimate objects. So, yay me. But my sister has kids. And hers manifested. Her cycle manifested in infidelity, unfortunately, with her husband. Now, thankfully, they managed to work that out and get those differences taken care of, and they're still happily married, and they still have 2 beautiful children who have not been affected by that whatsoever because they're both adults. And they have a wonderful support system. They have wonderful people around them there. Now, unfortunately for my oldest sister, it has manifested in something that I can't really understand, because she's just kind of gone off the rails, but she's divorced herself from the family and lives like a recluse up in northern Ontario somewhere. But she was very abusive towards my sister and myself. And that's, again, the cycle of abuse. These things manifest. These things carry on. Because children, they don't... To go back to my original point, it's fine, Gav. It is what it is. You know what? Your sibling went off too. It happens. These things manifest. These things manifest. Out of everybody, I think I turned out one of the most stable. I was also the youngest child. So, but here I am. I understand now. At the time, it was rough. Growing up through all that nonsense. Being a kid, not being able to be a kid. Being forced to grow up really, really quickly. But I understand. Because now I'm in a position, because I've experienced all of that stuff. And I've understood it. And I've processed it to a point where I can talk about it comfortably. I'm sorry, Oni Lord Miki. That I can talk to other people about it, and I can share that experience with other people and kind of make them feel a bit more normal about themselves. But that took a lot of time. That took a lot of strength. That took a lot of inner strength to get to that point. Because I had every single excuse to use that as a crutch. I never did. Everyone wanted me to. Through high school, it was like, oh well, we have to be nice to you because, you know, your parents are this or you're this or whatever else. Blah 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 blah. Like, no, don't treat me differently. Don't treat me differently. Treat me like a human being. Don't take the decision away from me to seek help, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there right now that are really, really worried and want to help out Sophie and want to help out her brothers. And unfortunately, this really sucks to say, the damage has been done. The damage has been done. The decisions have been taken out of their hands. They have to survive until they're old enough to leave. That's what has to happen. And then from there, it will be their choice to decide if they want to seek help, if they want to use that as a crutch. But that manifestation of abuse is going to be there for a very long time. When you look at it, and this is a large reason as to why I couldn't finish psychology. I went to college for psychology, partially, and I couldn't see it through to I couldn't see it through to a degree because it was so backbreakingly depressing. Because you had to read about stuff like this. You had to question you had to not only read situations like Sophie's, but you had to be critical and question every single part of it to understand what was going on. Because sometimes people can lie about it. Sometimes you can get into situations where kids can act out and manifest things that don't necessarily happen. I can tell you, growing up, when my parents got divorced, I was living with my dad at the time, and I fucking despised what my mom did. I hated her. I refused to speak to her because I fucking hated what she did to my dad. I hated what she did to our family. Basically what happened was that she had a side relationship that she left my dad for, and she left the family for. So I resented her for that. I was like 10 or 11, I think. 10 or 11. I despised her. I refused to talk to her. And that was my choice. That wasn't my dad telling me that she was a terrible person. That was my choice. My dad forced me to speak to her on the phone. My dad was distraught that I was so angry and so hateful. He forced me to talk to her on the phone. And I mean, at the time, it ended up resolving a little bit. But looking at it, it's like, my dad didn't want me to... I understand why my dad didn't want me to have that feeling and that resentment. But on the other end of that, he should have respected it. Because growing up, my dad was the physical abuser in the relationship. So I did not have great feelings for him. When my parents ended up divorcing, my mom took me and left. And then my sisters set up... It's a really weird situation. My sisters set up a visitation in which I would go and visit with them and my dad, and then I just never went back to my mom after. So again, growing up in a very broken situation. Lots of conflicting, confusing emotions. Being told what I should be thinking. Being told how I should feel about things. Being told, well, you have to like this person. You have to love this person because they're family. You have to do this because of that. It breaks children to do that. As I grew older, I did a lot of self-reflecting, and I looked at the situation, and I'm like, I understand. I understand why certain things happened. I understood all of that stuff, and I worked through it. Do I forgive some of the things? Sure. I don't forget any of it, though. So when I get the old guilt trip about not going out for Christmas or whatever else, it's like, okay, no. You don't get to have that autonomy. You don't get to take that autonomy away from me. You don't get to tell me how I should feel anymore, because I spent so many years being told how I should feel. Exactly, Ellie. My parents didn't know how to be parents. Looking back at it, they had my oldest sister, the first child, when my mom was 14. My dad was 19. They never had a chance to be kids. Let alone they had to be fucking parents. And then years later they had more kids. And my dad was basically working every fucking hour of his life. Like, I understand that growing older, but when you're 10, 11, you don't understand that. You don't get that. You look at your parents and they've always been there. And you don't understand money, because money's always been there. Food's always been there, because at the end of the day, do I hate my parents? No. Because even despite all of the fucking shit that they went through, we always had clothing. We always had food. We always had a roof over our head. So they did it. They did what they had to do. Now, does it suck that all the shit that happened? Sure. But does it negate everything else? No. But does it mean I'm going to be the closest to them? No, absolutely not. It made me be an independent person. It forced me to be self-reliant. And so that's what I am now. Yeah, the biggest lie is teaching kids that adults know what they're doing. Exactly. Exactly. Hate is an absolutely overused word. Absolutely. And so, in a lot of ways, I can thank them, because they got me to a point where I could take care of myself. I made a lot of bad decisions. I had a lot of bad shit thrust upon me. Absolutely. But all of that said, I'm here where I am now. And going forward, I can just be the best person I can be. I'm hoping with everything in my heart that can be the same thing for Sophie and her brothers. When you have one parent who literally strips the room bare as a punishment, they don't deserve access to the development of that child's life. They don't deserve access to all of the successes of that child, because the child has succeeded in spite of them. They don't deserve credit for it. And I hope that Sophie survives long enough to be strong and process all of this, so that maybe one day she can grow up to be a fucking court judge and punish assholes that do this stuff, instead of rush to the fucking judge's seat so that they can squeeze as much money out of people as possible. I really hope that she can look back upon this, that she has the ability and the longevity to look back at this and become one of the greatest people of our fucking lifetime. I really hope. She has every excuse to use this as a crutch to be whatever. She has every excuse to go out and, do drugs or turn into a terrible person. But I really hope that she uses this as some sort of launching pad to become the next prodigy that we don't deserve. Because Collin County has failed her. The United States have failed her. And I really, really hope that stops. Anyone else feel like we're in a group session? Kind of what this is today. Kind of what it is today. And that's okay, Gav. This is why I wanted to have this conversation. Because it's things like this that bring us together, right? It's things like this that bring us together. It's important. It's an important conversation to have. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that need to have it. There's a lot of people out there that are rushing to help people like Sophie and her brothers because they've gone through similar shit in their lifetime, and they're trying to solve themselves by doing what they think is right in this situation. The bottom line is we can't save her. At this point, only she can save herself. Because there's no one else that can go in and understand the pain she's gone through, understand the turmoil she's gone through, and make sense of it. High five for being gender fluid, Ty Brunner. I am trans, but I'm technically gender fluid. So cheers. It took you getting out of your family's range to deep dive into it. So here's a story. My oldest sister lived fairly close to my middle sister and our niece and nephew. My niece and my sister were coming to my city because she had some dance tournament thing, like performance cheerleading thing that she was going to. And she was going to be staying in a hotel. Like, they were going to be staying in a hotel, like, right close to me. So I was going to go visit them. And this is around the time when I came out as trans. When I came out as gender fluid. And my oldest sister was vehemently against it. Calling me a nut job, calling me a psycho, calling me all sorts of things. She told my 12-year-old niece that I hadn't seen since she was 4. Because they live like 4 hours away, and there's no way for me to get there. 4 hours away by car, by the way. It'd be like an 8-hour bus ride. She told my 12-year-old niece that I was a mutant, that I was a monster, that I was horrible. Had her fucking terrified to meet me again. This is coming from my oldest sister, by the way. To the point where she didn't even want to see me. That my middle sister had to tell her, no, this is your relative. Like, they're fine. They're normal. This is normal. So they get there. We meet up at the hotel restaurant. And she's super shy. And then I tried to look a little bit nice. Like, I did my nails and all that shit. Did my hair. We get there and we're chatting for a little bit. My niece leans over to my sister, whispers something. My sister just laughs, and she's like, she wants to tell you that she really likes your nails. She thinks that your hair is really pretty. And we were hanging out in the hotel room, and she was showing me like these little. They look like crazy bones, but there's like some sort of like garbage pail crazy bone things now. And she wanted to like show me. She was so excited about them, so I showed interest, and we played with them for literally hours. And she was having the time of her life. So yeah. Needless to say, I don't talk to that sister that tried to fill my niece's head with so much bullshit. The last thing that I talked to her about after I heard about that was that she wanted me to come to her on Christmas. She has the car, by the way. I don't have a car. She has a car. I live 2.5 hours away from her. I'd have to bus there over Christmas, bus back while working full time, so I didn't have time to take off. I basically would have to bus there, spend a couple hours there, and then bus immediately back because I had to work. And she basically told me to fuck off because I couldn't come down for Christmas. Because she couldn't come to pick me up. I should be busing to her. And she told me to fuck off. So I told her where to go. And again, this is a cycle of abuse. I understand why she's like that. Because she's chosen to be that. She's chosen to be that. Thankfully, out of all of this, because my middle sister and I always had a rocky relationship when I was younger, because she really never understood a lot of the life choices that I made. But out of all of this, we've gotten because she's had a lot of issues with our oldest sister too. Out of all of this, we've gotten a much stronger connection, though, which is really nice. So there is positivity out of it, and it all comes down to how we choose to be, like, how we choose to use the trauma that we have, right? We can choose to be monsters. We can choose to be assholes. We can choose all of these things, or we can choose to be productive. We can choose to be educating. We can choose the path that we walk down. There's always a choice. Because we have free will. We're never locked into anything. So, my life coaching advice to all of y'all. And the folks who need to hear this are going to tune in and hear this. Is understand that we all have shit that we have to go through. We all have trauma. We all have nonsense. We all have a lot of crap on our plates. In terms of the Sophie stuff, I know we all really, really, really want to help her out. We really want to help the right side, quote unquote, the right side out. Do I think that Michael is completely devoid of responsibility in this? No. I think, unfortunately, a lot of what has been going on, to the degree of what's been going on, Michael could have done differently. I think he's choosing to do what he should have been doing a long time ago now, because he put faith naively in a system that was rigged from the start. And unfortunately, he's playing by a rule book that has, been crossed out and written in crayon. It's a difficult situation, right? It's a difficult situation looking at all of us. There's no right answer here. If you're on the side of the children, which everyone should be, the damage here is done. This is something that's going to follow Sophie for the rest of her life. It's going to follow her brothers for the rest of their life. They're going to question, what the fuck did they do? What could they have done differently? It's going to be a question that's going to be on their minds for fucking years. They're going to blame themselves. They're going to internalize it. They have to figure it out. They have to figure it out on their own about what they want to do with it. It's going to take a strong will. It's going to take a lot of support. And it's unfortunate, but there's really not much that outside people can do. Really not much that outside people can do. I really do wish the best for all of them and for all of these people involved. I can tell you right now that for those people who are working against the interest of the children, you don't have to worry so much about the repercussions you're gonna reap in this reality. Because those are gonna be child's play compared to what you're going to reap universally. The amount of lifetimes you're going to be paying for this, for the stain that you are creating, for the Ju-on that you are creating. And this is something that is not going to go away. And you all have to live with that. You have to go to bed with that. You have to wake up with that. That you've created a stain on people's souls. Something that they're going to carry from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime because of an action that you chose to do. There's nothing you can do to fix it now. It's done. There's nothing you can do to change it. Because you can't go back. You can't go back and remove what's been done to these kids. You can't go back and undo the damage to the trust. You can't undo any of that. And that was a conscious choice. It wasn't because of the shit that happened to you. All that stuff led you to that fork in the road. All of the trauma and stuff that you all have dealt with, the judges, the lawyers, everyone involved, the Canadians in the trailer parks, you've all been led to that fork, and you chose to do this. So sleep well with your choices. Yeah, Crumb and Ken stream. That'd be nice. I don't know if Ken... I don't know what the situation with Ken streaming has been, because I know he wasn't streaming for a bit. I don't know if he's changed. Not lighten the mood just a bit. Hot tub, just use the hot tub time machine. If it were only that simple, seriously. Jesus. I know this has been an uncomfortable stream. I know this has not been a fun stream to listen to. But it's been a necessary stream. I promise we'll get back to the fun stuff. Eventually, we'll get there. I promise. Don't worry. There's Ken. How you doing, Ken? You're streaming earlier today? I know it's been a really heavy stream, but again, I think it's a necessary one. How you doing, Ken? Speaking of Ken, Ken's been sleeping on the counseling couch, I guess. 5.5 hours today, 6 yesterday. Holy shit, dude. That's awesome. It was very good. Doing okay? Good. Good. Yeah, the shit that happened with Ken was really messed up. And again, it's people out there that are trying so hard to remedy their own trauma by doing what they think is right in this particular situation, and they couldn't be more fucking wrong. They couldn't be more fucking wrong, because they're buying into bullshit instead of looking at facts. Let me just say this real quick. Facts don't lie. People do. Don't believe people, believe facts. And there's only one side that has been showing facts this entire time. People who do that are not innocent by the action itself. And exactly. So, again, don't listen to people. Listen to facts. At the end of the day, people are going to fucking lie. Deep dive into the diagnostic deets on parental alienation syndrome and reading Sophie's reunification psychology testimonies transcript. That'd be really interesting. I don't have any access to any of those things, so I'm curious as to what your synopsis is on it. I personally loved the fact that that Michael played audio recordings, and that his attorney was like, well, that's not Lee. That's not Rachel Lee. It's not her voice. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I love how I love how she was already making excuses for the opposition. Burn your bar card. Maybe you should take a long fucking trip to Cuba and never come back. Oh, he absolutely had receipts. He absolutely did. Absolutely. I don't know how much of the stream you've caught so far, Ken. If you've been streaming the whole time. We haven't had any weirdos. I think they've been sufficiently BTFO'd. We haven't had any weirdos in the chat so far, so. Makes me happy and somewhat sad because I haven't had anyone to yell at, so. You know how it is. Yeah, like, I was very critical of the entire situation, looking at the videos that were being played, looking at the reactions of all parties involved. I think it's very clear It's surreally clear. I never usually see something just be so cut and dry of who's telling the fucking truth and why it's so obvious to a Canadian that has no experience in the American justice system. So obvious to someone walking on the fucking street, but yet it's completely not obvious at all to a judge who wants a payday, apparently. Unfreaking real. But that's about all I have. It was not going to be a very long stream today. I wasn't really even planning to have a stream today. I want to have a weekend where I have a break where I can just like recharge. But every fucking week there's something like there's something interesting to talk about. So I haven't really found a good time to take a break yet. But I think next week is Friday the 13th, so I got to do something Friday the 13th, but yeah, I do want to take a quick like a 1 week break or something, a mid-season break. Just to kind of have a Saturday to myself and just relax, but I don't do it cuz I hate you guys. Never work forever. I don't do it because I hate you guys. I love you guys. You guys are fantastic. I love coming in here and chatting, just having, like just slice of life conversations with you, having like really fun times with y'all, all that good stuff. All that good stuff. But, oh my god. I have to figure out a time to talk with, yeah, Haley did. I have to figure out a time what works. Because Haley, Fridays work good for her in terms of like coming on at normal time. Basically, I would have to come on at like 3 p.m. I'd have to start a show at like 3 p.m. and a Friday would probably work better for that, which works good for her. I just have to figure out which Friday to have her on. So I haven't, I've been trying to figure that out in terms of my schedule. Obviously this week, this stuff came up, so I wanted to address that. So this week wasn't good, but I'll have to get in touch with her. Because I'm sitting, yeah, exactly, Irish time. I'm sitting on an email right now. I've just been busy with a bunch of stuff. So I haven't got back to her just yet about the most recent email. But no, she's down to talk. I'm down to have her on. We can chat about that nonsense. And it's either that or I stay up till fucking midnight and do like a midnight stream on a Saturday, which I don't, or a Friday or a Saturday, which I don't think that would be very well attended. So I'm trying to find out like the best way to make it work. Which it's proving more difficult than I originally thought. So, but yeah, eventually we'll get Haley on. See how that goes. Don't say this lightly. Love you and the community you've brought together. Thank you so much, Gav. I appreciate every single one of you, honestly. It was a heavy slice of live streaming when you love you for it. I hope so. I hope that this reaches the people it needs to reach. I already know it's not going to be a very well received stream. It's not going to be a very high viewed stream. They rarely are. I just hope that this conversation and this topic reaches the people it needs to reach. That's all I can ask for. That's all I can ask for, because I think there's a lot of people out there. No dislikes. That is good. That is good. I don't think I would be surprised if this stream breaks 100 in terms of views. It is what it is. But I hope that of those 100 people that do end up watching this stream, that this stream makes a difference for them in some way, shape, or form, in a positive direction. So I want to thank all of you. I'm just gonna wrap it up because it's just about 2 hours. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Again, I wasn't really planning on streaming. I gave my opinions, my very stark opinions about everything. Karens are in the closet, absolutely. They have nothing to say. And there's a lot of stuff that I could have shown, but in the same respect, I'm doing my best to not give them anything that they can easily strike down with the limitations of the YouTube algorithm, and things like that. So giving them the least amount of things that they can latch onto and try to strike. When's my MGTOWN episode? I have no idea. No clue. I haven't been asked to be on the show. I've been asked by a few people to be on the show, but I have not been in conversation with anyone who actually runs the show. So, but yeah. Hopefully, in the future, soon, TM will be able to do it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out. That is going to do it for today. Again, we'll probably be back on next week. I don't know. We'll see. I usually make the announcements midweek, but if there's no show next week, you'll know by midweek. I'll just say that. But thank you guys so much. One step closer being in the Discord now. It's true. Thanks guys so much. As always, keep your stick on the ice. Until next time. Bye-bye.